If these hills could talk, the economic theory they would expound upon.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome
Ideas that could change the world.
The future is not predetermined.
Or at least billionaire George Soros bringing together PhDs and Nobel Prize winners with the backdrop of historical Bretton Woods would suggest someone is hoping they will.
At Bretton Woods, New Hampshire.
It was here Allied nations came during World War II. With an economic system in crisis, they came searching for stability. They formed the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and established the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. It's here that decades later, in the wake of a financial crisis, a group of influential economists and former policymakers have gotten together to try to rethink that very framework to reflect a different world.
So everything that we have taken for granted for almost 2 centuries, American and European dominance, is no longer a fact.
And in adjusting to that fact and cleaning up the mess of the 2008 financial crisis in the U.S. to move the country forward, critics here paint a picture of near continuous failure of U.S. policymakers to do the job. President Barack Obama's former right-hand economic man said the stimulus should have been bigger.
Well, the decision was political. I mean, the judgment was we wanted to get as much fiscal stimulus as we could.
Meanwhile, the Wall Street bailouts of the time and Federal Reserve reaction favored finance.
They saved the big banks, but they have not really gotten our economy going again.
The financial reforms passed by Washington, supposed to end too big to fail, haven't. Banks still aren't required to hold enough cash. That's just one reason critics like this former J.P. Morgan exec cite, putting the country on course for another disaster.
Depends on what one says about crisis, but I'd have to say yes. The concentration of power in finance is greater today than it was before this crisis.
And that's courtesy of the cash flow from Wall Street to politicians and lobbying, corrupting real reform and belief in the leaders tapped to make it. Despite some with noble goals,
I think there are others who are taking too much money from Wall Street, and they're doing what you might say whatever the thugs want, and they are contributing to the deterioration of confidence.
Deterioration coming amidst an increase in inequality in the U.S., where the top 1% are getting richer, while everyone else is lagging behind, with frustration starting to pour over into the streets, like we've seen recently with public union workers in Wisconsin. Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz believes it's all sending the country in the wrong direction.
That's right. And that was what was brought home so forcefully by what was happening in Wisconsin.
He has high hopes the mix of thinkers and policymakers here will lead to new priorities, while others are experiencing their own crisis of confidence that new economic thinking will turn into direct action anytime soon.
The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Lauren Lister, RT, New Hampshire.